Fine Music Breakfast with Annabelle Drumm.
And I hope you're enjoying the music today. The time at the moment is 6 minutes past 8 o'clock. And just looking at the weather, it's currently 12 degrees in Sydney and looking for a high of 20 degrees. And in Penrith it's 7 degrees, looking for a high of 21. There'll be a little bit of fog out west and it will be a partly cloudy day today, but generally mild and lovely, just as fabulous as you would like to make it. Now, in the studio with me this morning, I have an Australian talent that you may not have heard much about lately because he's been treading the boards basically all over Europe, mostly through England and London. He's worked with the Royal Shakespeare Company and at the Globe, leading roles, plus roles that have been created for him on the West End. He's worked for the BBC in festivals, movies and recitals. And he's got to be at least a double threat, I'd say, with an acting. He's an acting graduate of the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, but also has had a professional singing career, mostly in the recital area in London and Australia. I would like to welcome into the studio Brett Brown.
Good morning, Annabelle. Thanks for having me.
I'm so pleased to see you here. Thank you for coming along. Your career seems to have taken you all over the world. Has the work been more singing or acting?
Recently, it's been a mix of both, and that's really exciting for me because I trained as an actor in London, but of course I'd grown up singing for Opera Australia, so that has been very important to me. And now, at this point in my career, being able to mix the two as an actor and a singer is what really excites me.
And what sort of are your favourite kinds of work then to be able to mix those two together?
Recently, I've been doing a lot of Shakespeare, so I've got a solo production of Henry V that's been touring around Europe. And that's including a lot of music that was written, we think, by the historic Henry V. So that's been really exciting to try and blend that together. And now I'm working here in Australia with Andrew McKinnon on a new production about Wagner and his patron Ludwig II of Bavaria. And similarly, this is a piece that explores that really interesting, complex relationship between the king and the composer, but with Wagner's music throughout it.
So is that a one-man show that you're working on?
No. This will be several characters plus musicians.
Oh, wow. And will that be touring around, do you think?
That will. We're hoping for an Australian tour, which will be very exciting.
Very good. And this one over with Henry V, did you say that was a one-man
That was
show?
a solo show. And we looked at the character of Henry V from all the plays in which he appears. So as the young Prince Hal in Henry IV, parts 1 and 2, then in Henry V, and then in the very first scene of Henry VI, where he appears as a corpse. So
he hasn't much to say.
Doesn't have much to say, but people have a lot to say about him, which was quite interesting at that point. Much easier to talk about someone when they're not there than
they can't
in their presence.
Themselves.
That's right. So we were able to mix all that together into a really interesting study as to his character and personality, both in the public sphere and in the private realm.
And I guess, it's so much challenge to be able to do a one-man show. You have flexibility. You can change it every night if you wanted to, but providing you don't kill it for the lighting people and the sound people trying to follow your cues. But it's a huge amount of focus to keep on to it, the whole way through.
I found it quite daunting at the start to feel that I was sort of going out there and it was just me. And at times it was almost a little bit lonely at the start. And then I had to really shift my thinking to realise that the audience was there with me.
That's what I was thinking,
not just as spectators, but really as participants within this world that I was creating.
Did you find that you got the vibe back from them that would have altered what you were doing?
Very much so, particularly when I started to really engage with them in a way that I hadn't in the first few performances. And from that moment on, it became a very different piece, far more engaging and exciting, I think.
I think this is where a lot of performers look down on busking, but I think that is one thing, that one great skill that buskers pick up very quickly is to be able to tune into the audience and feed off them, and they've become involved in the whole thing, don't they?
That's right, and look, the buskers that I've observed, it's often in a solo context as well, so it's quite a good comparison, Annabelle, I think, in terms of really engaging with the people that you come into contact with.
And then they go away more satisfied. They're not just sitting there looking at something that could be a movie.
Well, that's right, but the other challenge I had with this was that performing around Europe, most of the time I was performing, all of the time I was performing in English, but most of the time the audience, English was their second language. So although we had surtitles for the performance, there was a language barrier that created another obstacle and challenge for this character of Henry V to really get his expression and his message across. So that was really interesting for me as well, as an actor, to sort of go into those contexts and work out how to really make that a dynamic and vibrant performance despite the language barrier.
And yes, you always have that disconnect if they've got to keep looking for the surtitles.
That's right, and often the jokes would land several lines later than I anticipated. So
they'll laugh later on.
That's right. Or sometimes if the line appeared, the cue appeared earlier than I had spoken the line, the joke would happen before it had happened itself. So that was the joy of performing around Europe.
Would you do it differently next time? Would you go and look just for people that had stronger English, like Scandinavia or something like that?
No, I don't think so. In many ways, I think I enjoyed it more performing with that language barrier, because it really made it something very tangible in the room, where there was a real focus and concentration and a real energy that came out of that as a result.
Something you didn't expect.
Absolutely. It was a real learning curve as an actor.
So I said at the beginning that you're a double threat. So are you a triple threat as well? Do you dance as well?
I do. Not as much anymore, but I did dance on the West End with Gillian Lynne in her final production of Dear World. Mm-hmm. I danced and played the accordion and sang in that all at once.
A quadruple threat then.
If you count the accordion.
That is unexpected. And doing the jig at the same time, were you?
And doing a jig, yes, absolutely. In an outrageous wig.
Oh, that just makes it all the more fun, doesn't it? The memories.
That's right.
Now, you're here in Australia. You've just arrived back from London.
I have.
A couple of weeks ago to work on a world premiere with the American composer Nico Muhly. Is that how we pronounce it? Muhly, he's only in his late 30s, I think.
That's right, yeah.
And he's already written a tremendous amount of work, including operas, full orchestral works, choral works, and also film music, including the Kate Winslet film, The Reader. So how did you originally meet him?
Well, I was invited into this project by the Amiga Ensemble, who have commissioned this world premiere. And it's been commissioned in loving memory of a man called Stephen Alwood. Mm-hmm. And it's a very beautiful piece, and it's scored for the ensemble and for baritone. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting in a cafe in Romania, actually, about to perform my Henry V in Craiova at a festival there, and my phone rang, and it was David on the other end, who's the artistic director, David Rowden, of the ensemble. And he rang to tell me about this commission, and I'd heard Nico's music in London and, of course, in the film The Reader, so I didn't have to think at all about saying yes to this really exciting project.
It's an amazing opportunity. So you were Romania, were you?
I was, in Romania, in Craiova, which is a beautiful town and has a huge international Shakespeare festival, and I was representing Australia there with Henry V.
Wow. That's great. So these opportunities come from all corners of the world then in the end,
They do, and
it?
Often, as has been my career, at the most unexpected times and in the most unexpected places.
So, and he wrote this work for your voice then, I'm assuming.
He did. Well, Nico's been very collaborative from the outset, so we then met in London to talk about the commission and to talk about the poem on which it's set, which is a Constantine Cavafy poem called Two Young Boys Aged 23 or 24, two young men rather. And we were speaking about this and, of course, about my voice and how I like to use my instrument. And so from that moment, Nico's been very good at sculpting this piece to really fit my voice.
And did you play much of a part in that creative process? Did he get you to try things out? Or
He did. I mean, Nico's a phenomenal composer, and so I wouldn't dare make suggestions to his music, but I would certainly think about how I would interpret it, and that's where we really collaborated, going, well, this fits a bit better here for my voice, and perhaps this here, and he's really responded to that. And we're rehearsing it at the moment here in Sydney, and in fact we're making a recording with ABC Classic. And even in this process, Nico is still making slight alterations and changes, so it's a very organic and dynamic process in that sense, but what he has written is quite superb, so it doesn't require much change at all.
It sounds very exciting. We'll be looking forward to hearing it. Let's go back to the Amiga Ensemble as well. So how were you connected with them as to the fact that David would end up ringing you to use you for this particular piece?
Well, again, this was quite organic. I actually went to school with David Rowden, but I was several years below him at the Scots College. And David was a big star of the music department there and a very, very fine clarinetist. And I was more sort of the singer at that stage. And I followed David's trajectory, and when he was a student at the Royal Academy of Music in London, I happened to be a student at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. Mm-hmm. So we've been in contact through all this time and following each other's careers, and we've been speaking for several years about how we could collaborate and what that project might be. And
so is this the first time you've worked with
This
him?
is the first time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How
and so
lovely.
I'm really delighted that it's turned out to be this project of all the things that we discussed.
Right. We've got a little piece from the Amiga Ensemble now. We thought we'll have a listen to it. And it is Elena Ketzer-Chernyn's Russian Rag, I think it is. So let's enjoy that for a little bit. The Amiga Ensemble there with Elena Ketzer-Chernyn's Russian Rag. And at the moment I'm here talking to Brett Brown, the baritone, who is here for a wonderful concert, including the world premiere of a piece by Nico Muehlli. I have to make sure I get that right. And so there's other music within this concert. It's a mixture, isn't it?
There is. It's called American Masters at the concert, and it's got some Philip Glass, some John Adams, and then several other pieces by Nico Muehlli. And Unexpected News, the piece that I'm singing, is having its world premiere in the concert.
It's the big finale.
It is the big finale, yes. But quite a delicate, subtle and beautiful piece in many ways. And it follows a wonderful journey of this young man waiting for his friend to arrive in a cafe, and he waits and waits through the night. Midnight passes, 1:30 in the morning passes. Finally, his friend arrives, having won money in a card game.
Right.
And flush with this cash and full of joy, the friends set off for the evening.
Oh, right. It sounds like so much fun. And Nico will be there as well for the premiere?
He will. He's in Sydney at the moment, and we're working with him on this project, and he'll be in attendance on the night.
They'll be able to give him a standing ovation.
And he rightly deserves it.
Yeah. That sounds good, especially if you can feature a lot more of his work as well in the program, so
That's
people get a
right.
really good feel for what he does.
It's great, and this is, in fact, Nico's first commission in Australia, and it's amazing that that's come through the Amiga Ensemble.
Well, hopefully it will encourage other people to commission him to do more work here as well. And you as well, get you back here,
Thank you very
drag you
much.
back from London.
Yes.
So what else have you got on the boil at the moment? What's coming up in the future?
Well, I go back to London to start working on a new production of Shakespeare's Troilus and Cressida that we are turning into almost like a Weimar Republic cabaret, which will feature Shakespeare and songs from that era and possibly the Hollywood Golden Age as well. So that's very exciting. And then I'm back to Sydney to work on my debut solo album with the legendary Australian music producer Chong Lim. And he's been the producer for Olivia Newton-John, Kylie Minogue, John Farnham, more recently David Campbell and Mark Vincent. So I'm
Superb.
really thrilled to be working
the
with
best.
Chong on this.
Will that be with ABC as well?
No, that's independent at this stage,
Okay.
and we're going to release that in 2020.
Wonderful. Well, I hope you'll be able to come back for their launch for that CD.
Thank you. Me
Yeah,
too.
sounds good. In the meantime, we can come and see you. It's going to be next Tuesday night
That's right.
at the City Recital Hall at 7:30. This is when the big world premiere is going to be. The show is called American Masters. So if you want to come along and see Brett Brown, the tickets are from $49 and they go up for more fancy seats, obviously going to cost a little bit more. However, for fine music listeners, you can use the code when you go into City Recital. I don't know if you do it at City Recital Hall or the Amiga Ensemble, both places.
Either, yes.
You can get tickets at either website and you can use the code Omega Fine Music. And if you put that all in, squished together as one word, you get 20% discount on whichever tickets you choose to get, which is very, very generous. Lovely. That means I can buy 10 tickets and
We'd
get 20%
love that.
discount.
Come along.
Sounds like a very good idea. Good for music students as well.
Great for music students.
Yeah, to see something so magnificent, because world premieres don't happen all the time.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
so
right.
it'll be good. Thank you so much for coming in, Brett.
Thank you, Annabelle. It's been my pleasure.
Lovely.